Transfers are where clubs sell dreams. The announcement drops, the compilations hit, and everyone swears this one signing will change everything. But some perfect moves age badly. In this video, we're looking at 7 transfers that had everything to succeed but still ended in failures. Kicking off at number 7, we've got Ryan Gravenberch to Bayern Munich in 2022. At the time, it looked like the safest wonderkid to superclub move you could draw up. He was just 20 years old, already a Champions League tested starter at Ajax, nearly 190 tall and hyped as the next great Dutch midfield all-rounder. Bayern picked him up for a relatively low fee, plugged him into a team that dominates the ball, and sold the idea that he'd learn under Joshua Kimmich and Leon Goretzka before taking over the middle of the pitch. On paper, it was a cheat code. Gravenberch as the future of Bayern's midfield for the next decade. In reality, it never got going. The pathway that looked clear on the transfer graphic was crowded in real life. Minutes were mostly late cameos, competition was stacked, and the tactical demands shifted under different coaches. Over 2 seasons, he made a few dozen appearances, mostly off the bench, and never felt like more than one for tomorrow in a team that never really gave him a real today. And then he left, and that's when you see how much of a missed opportunity this really was. In 2023, he joined Liverpool, and under Klopp and then Arne Slot, he started to look like a real centerpiece, playing far more, trusted in big games and being talked about as their long-term midfield anchor. So the Bayern move isn't a failure of talent, it's a should-have-worked development move that never found the minutes, role or patience it needed, made even harsher by how good he looks now in red at Anfield. Sliding in at number 6, it's Alexis Sanchez to Manchester United in 2018. On paper, this was the Premier League power move. United swooped in mid-season, beat Manchester City to his signature, and handed him a huge contract as if they'd just secured the missing piece of their attack. He was Arsenal's talisman, relentless presser, ball winner from the front, and a creator who could drag a team up the pitch by himself. Plug that into Old Trafford and the narrative wrote itself. Alexis as the spark of a new era. Instead, the move became a case study in how a perfect signing can go wrong when the fit isn't clear. The intensity that defined him at Arsenal suddenly looked like chaos in a team still figuring out its identity. He drifted between the left, the right and central roles, never really syncing with the players around him. The touches were heavier, the decisions slower, and the highlight reels that once came every week dried up fast. The impact off the bench was just as painful. Those massive wages instantly made him one of the highest earners at the club, creating a gap between what he was paid to be and what he actually delivered. It warped expectations and reportedly changed how other players and agents approached their own negotiations. There are transfers where a player is clearly finished. This wasn't that. Sanchez still had quality, but everything around him, tactics, timing, and confidence pulled in the wrong direction. But as bad as Alexi looked in red, number 5 is where a perfect signing walks into his dream move and still never really arrives. Next up at number 5, Naby Keita to Liverpool in 2018. When this deal was announced a year in advance, it looked like the perfect Klopp signing. Keita was a star at RB Leipzig, aggressive presser, elite ball carrier, could tackle, dribble and thread passes through lines. At 23, he seemed tailor-made to become the long-term, all-action number 8 in a midfield built on intensity. The idea was clear, he'd add creativity and chaos to a team already on the brink of greatness. Instead, his Liverpool story turned into a stop-start reel of what-ifs. Every time he put a run of form together, an injury hit. Every time he had a big Champions League night or a brilliant performance, he would disappear for weeks. In a squad where availability is almost a skill, Keita never stayed fit or consistent enough to lock down a starting spot. The harsh part is that the talent was obvious. You can still find games where he looked like the complete modern midfielder Liverpool thought they'd signed, but over 5 seasons, those flashes never became the weekly standard. For a transfer this carefully planned and hyped, ending as a rotation piece rather than a pillar of the team makes it feel like one of the era's big, should-have-worked moves. Before we drop in at number 4, if you've already argued with at least one name on this list in your head, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Tell us in the comments if you could replay one of these transfers with a better manager or system, which one are you fixing first? Next, rolling into number 4, it's Tanguy Ndombele to Tottenham in 2019. This was hyped as the perfect modern midfielder signing. Fresh off starring for Lyon in Ligue 1 and the Champions League, Ndombele looked like the guy who could glide past the press, carry the ball through midfield, and replace that Moussa Dembele-shaped hole in Spurs' engine room. At 22, as a club record signing, he was meant to be the centerpiece of a refreshed post-Champions League final Tottenham. On the ball, you could see why they paid up. There were games where he danced through 3 or 4 players like they weren't there, slipped passes between lines, and made it look effortless. Those clips still do numbers because the talent has never really been in question. The issue was everything around those moments. Fitness doubts never went away. Managers kept demanding more intensity without the ball. And tactically, he never became the trusted heartbeat who could play 90 minutes every week. Pochettino didn't last long after he arrived. Mourinho was never fully sold, and the revolving door feeling on the touchline didn't help a player who clearly needed one coach fully in his corner. So instead of being the long-term leader of Spurs' midfield, Ndombele's story turned into cameos, frustration, and loan spells. For a record signing in his early 20s, in a league that should have showcased his mix of power and flair, that gap between expectation and reality is exactly why this move sits so high on a list of transfers that really should have worked. But if you think these first 4 were rough, just wait. By the time we hit number 1, you won't believe which perfect transfer ended up topping this list. Taking the bronze spot at number 3, we've got Paul Pogba's 2016 return to Manchester United. This wasn't just a signing, it was a full rebrand, world record fee, slick Pog back campaign, and the prodigal academy kid returning as one of the best midfielders on the planet after dominating with Juventus. In theory, everything lined up: prime age, huge personality, marketable, and a club desperate for a new leader in midfield. This was supposed to be the move that dragged United into a new era. Instead, it turned into 7 years of yeah but football. The talent was obvious. There were stretches where Pogba absolutely ran games, hit outrageous passes, and looked levels above everyone else on the pitch. He scored in a Europa League final, dropped big performances against City, and produced highlight reels that reminded you exactly why United spent that much. But the context around him never stopped shifting. Different managers, different systems, different partners. One season, he's a left-sided 8 given freedom to roam. Another season, he's deeper, tasked with build-up and defensive work he was never elite at. Then he's shunted wide just to cram him and Bruno in the same lineup. Every time that you thought that they had finally found his role, something changed again. That's why this transfer sparked so much debate. Was he inconsistent and hard to build around, or was he a world-class midfielder thrown into a poorly built project? And hanging over all of this is the big what if. Should he have gone to Real Madrid instead? Under Zidane, his idol, in a more stable structure, with clearer roles and a settled dressing room, a lot of fans still believe Pogba's prime would have looked very different. Controversy and debate aside, this became one of the most fascinating almost stories in modern football. And still with Manchester United, taking the number 2 spot is Memphis Depay's move to Old Trafford in 2015. On paper, it looked like the perfect reset. A 21-year-old star from PSV, Eredivisie top scorer, already bullying defenders in Europe, handed the iconic number 7 shirt and hyped as the next explosive wide forward in the Ronaldo mold. Van Gaal knew him from the national team. United needed goals and swagger from the wings, and this was supposed to be the start of a new era built around a young, fearless talisman. Instead, it never really caught fire. United were in full identity crisis mode, shifting tactics and lineups constantly, and Depay's game relies heavily on rhythm and confidence. He had flashes, a big European night here, an outrageous strike there, but the consistency never came. The pressure of the shirt, the scrutiny, and a cautious team structure turned a free-flowing attacker into a player second-guessing every decision. What makes this one sting even more is that even after leaving, his career never quite hit the ceiling people predicted. He rebuilt his reputation at Lyon and earned a move to Barcelona, but he never fully became that undisputed week-in, week-out superstar the early hype promised. Good numbers, strong moments, yes, but not the era-defining forward many thought he would be. So, Depay to United ends up as a classic should-have-worked transfer. The right talent, the right age, the right narrative, and yet, somehow, it always felt like we were watching the trailer for a movie that never fully got made. Finally, topping the list at number 1, and we know this will be controversial, is Neymar's 2017 move from Barcelona to PSG. But wait, hear us out. On paper, it was football's ultimate power play. Neymar wasn't just another superstar, he was the heir apparent, the guy many expected to take over the best in the world label after Messi and Ronaldo. PSG didn't just sign him, they smashed his release clause with a fee so huge it shattered the market and still stands as the most expensive transfer in history. The whole project was built on one clear idea: Neymar would win the Ballon d'Or in Paris and finally deliver the club its first Champions League. Individually, when he was fit, he was outrageous. Liga 1 defenders were getting spun, nutmegged, and embarrassed on a weekly basis. His connection with Mbappe produced some of the nastiest attacking football in Europe. The domestic numbers were there, the clips were there, and on a pure talent level, nobody doubts what Neymar brought to the pitch. But judging this transfer on Liga 1 dominance completely misses the point. A world record fee for a generational talent in his prime isn't about highlight reels against mid-table sides. It's about legacy. Ballon d'Or campaigns, Champions League runs, big nights that define an era. Instead, the story became one of badly timed injuries, second leg heartbreaks, and a project that never fully settled. He missed key knockout games, the squad kept changing, and slowly the narrative shifted from "this is Neymar's team" to "this is Mbappe's era." That mix, Neymar's ridiculous ability and the fact that this is still the most expensive transfer of all time, is why so many people quietly file it under failure. Not because he was bad, but because the move never delivered what that price tag and that level of talent promised. For something meant to change football forever, it ended up feeling like the most expensive what if the sport has ever seen. Do you agree with these should-have-worked transfers, or do you think that we've been too harsh on some of them? Tell us in the comments which move you would add. Hit like, subscribe, turn on the bell, and stick around to watch the next video that we've lined up for you on the screen.
The world's biggest tournament is coming, and the official FIFA World Cup 26 Try-Under competition ball is here at the Goal 90 shop. Designed for the game's biggest stage, it's built for precision, speed, and control. Right now, you can make it yours with 30% off plus free shipping. Don't just watch the World Cup, own a piece of it. Visit goal90.shop today and order now.